This meeting is being recorded.
It's my great pleasure to introduce this cine critique and first time I've ever meeting this fabulous man, Jim Piddock. Great to talk to you, mate.
How are you? Just taking a sip of tea there. My morning tea here in London. How are you?
Well, hello from Sydney on a Thursday night.
Lovely.
Have you been to Australia very often or at all?
I am going to go to Australia and New Zealand for the first time in my life in end of November.
Well, I hope that we get to meet in person.
Yeah, where are you located?
I'm located just north of Sydney on the coast, but I work down here all the time, media events and movies and so forth. So I'm sure something will happen. We can catch up.
Yeah. We'll be definitely hitting Sydney. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, so why did you decide to write a book? Did you just have a whole lot of stories hidden away that you wanted to share with people, or did you take notes on all your productions and want to put them together?
I don't take notes, no. I mean, I take a mental note of everything I ever do. That's why I'm a writer and an actor, I think. It started because I did a talk for the Screen Actors Guild in Beverly Hills. They asked me to do this thing called Inside the Industry, Let's Talk About It. It was in a 200-seat theater. And I was interviewed by an entertainment reporter from the Wall Street Journal. And I didn't prepare anything. I thought, well, I've got a few stories that amused me and I thought were quite revealing in some ways about the business or about, life in general. And so I sort of told those stories, and we were supposed to do, I think, 45 minutes. And the evening ended up being about an hour and a half. And I really enjoyed it. And people seemed to really respond very positively. So I came away thinking, well, I haven't done anything on stage for many years, over a decade. Maybe I'll do a one-man show where I don't have to learn any lines. I just wander around the stage telling stories, and with some sort of a thread to it and some sort of a point to it. And then I started writing, and it was literally a 10-hour play. And I thought that would test the patience of any theatre audience and my endurance. So I then thought I better write a book, get it off my chest, and if nothing else, my daughter can have a record of all the nefarious things I've done. And then the pandemic hit, so I guess what would have taken me probably 5 years to write took me 5 months, the first draft anyway. And that was how the book came about. And it's nothing original there. A lot of people wrote a book during the pandemic, but I think what is original about mine, and I'm not afraid to kind of tout what I think is unique about it, is that it names names. I don't duck and weave around who the people are, whether they behave well or indifferently or badly. I name people, generally speaking. And if I don't, there's a good reason that it was low-hanging fruit. So I think there's that. And I think it doesn't take itself very seriously, the book. It's essentially meant to entertain. There's a couple of chapters that are very emotional and much more serious. And by the end, what surprised me when I wrote it was I did write it just to get it off my chest and entertain people, is that a sort of philosophy came out of it, which I hadn't realized I had about life and about being a human being. And that was very, very nice to have that kind of depth that I didn't realize the book was going to have, and an eternal search for family and the meaning of family. In my life, what's lovely is, and I say in the introduction, I want this book to appeal to everybody. I don't want it to be for people inside show business or people who want to be inside show business or people who like show business. They're obvious people that might read a book like this. I wanted this book to be for everyone.
And you mentioned your daughter. Has she approved of it? Did you get her to read some of the draft?
Yeah, I gave her an early draft, especially the chapter about my adopting her, which was a very important and seminal moment in my life and in hers. And she was very, very supportive, and there's nothing she hadn't heard before or whatever. I mean, the thing that she was surprised by the book was sort of the early stuff before she was born. She had no idea I'd had this whole career on Broadway and stuff, and so that was kind of fun for her. But yeah, that was not an issue. That was not an issue.
Did you write it with an old school typewriter?
Oh God, no, computer. No, I mean, no, it was bang, bang, bang. In the computer, you can get stuff done a million times faster.
What about old friends like Christopher Guest? Did you ask him for any approvals, or did you just write from the heart and then show them later, everyone you
That's
mentioned?
exactly what I did. I generally write and show people later. That's why I don't do
Yeah.
assignments very often for studios or anybody. I don't want to write what somebody else wants me to write. I just want to write
Sure.
what I want to write, and then if people like it, they buy it, and if they don't buy it, and it's sitting on my shelf. I sent the book, an early ARC, advanced review copy, to I think around 40 celebrities, people who I knew and had worked with, or had brushed shoulders with it, and I was just blown away by the response, because I thought there would be some major roasting going on, and the response that came back were genuine. And they sent me accompanying emails saying, with the quotes that they gave for the book, which I think are all listed at the front and on the covers, that how much it meant to them, and how much they liked it. And I was genuinely shocked. I mean, I'm not just trying to be modest here. I was really surprised, because it somehow struck a chord. So I think Billy Connolly roasted me, which I was delighted about. I would expect nothing less than Billy,
Definitely.
And a couple of people sort of did semi roasting, but mostly they were just genuine, gushy reviews, which is lovely. But it did take me by surprise.
Did you draw the line at all? Did you keep any stories in your pocket for maybe another book or for a live show, as you were talking about? Is there something that you have?
I was quite strict about the editing. If there was a story in there that I felt didn't have a significance, either comedically or philosophically, or in terms of impact in my life, or what could be impactful for other people to read about, it was gone. Yeah. I mean, every chapter, it wasn't interesting for me to write about, then I did this film, then I did this play, then I did this TV show. Who cares? I don't care. So why would anyone else care? And I don't care when major celebrities write those books. I know what you've been in. That's why I'm reading your book. So yeah, it was very much an editing process that was very rigid, and I threw out a lot of stuff that I could probably put together another book with. Some of which I felt that it was not necessary. I'd sort of made the point elsewhere. Some of which I felt wasn't justified in showing someone in that bad a light necessarily, because they're not a bad person. And then there was just things that, there's a chapter in there saying there's 10 A-list celebrities I've worked with, 9 I loved, and 1 was a 4 asterisks word. In the original draft, that was not 4 asterisks. That was a word, which you can fill in the blanks yourself. And then I'll see you next Tuesday. And the publisher said, look, that we just can't do that, because it's going to rule out a certain chunk of your readership, and it'll alienate people. And that word means different things in different countries. So I didn't use that. I just used 4 asterisks. And in some ways, that's actually more powerful. Yeah.
Interpretation.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that was a very wise call. There is a little bit of gratuitous swearing in the book, because I wanted it to be how I spoke. And I do pepper my stories sometimes with swear words, and it's how I talk. And I wanted the book to be very conversational. So I use it, sparingly for either comedic effect, or just effect, or just because I'm lazy and couldn't cut out the swear words.
Well, I would think that people, if they don't know your name, don't know who you are, you just have to say, oh, well, this actor's been in Friends or been in Lost, and whatever the show or movie might be, and then they'll pick up the book anyway. So I do think what you've worked on is of interest to some people. You played Magneto. You're part of the MCU universe, the Marvel universe.
Yeah. I'm never aware of who knows what. I say at the beginning of the book, if you stop a random 10 people on the street and mention my name, 1 may know it. Right. 9 won't. If you show them a picture of me, about 5 or 6 might say, oh yeah, I know, I recognize him. He's probably on TV and stuff. And then if you give them a list of all the things I've written or been in, the 10 out of 10 will say, I've seen one of those. There's no question. So I'm in that weird kind of nebulous area of certainly not a recognizable celebrity. I've been a working actor my whole life, and people recognize me, but not on a basis that's annoying or regular enough to impede on my life. So, this isn't, I was facing selling this book, the fact that, it isn't going to sell on my name. And that's why I got all the celebrity endorsements, because I can ride on their coattails. So I wanted to try and find a snappy title and something that just grabbed people's attention in another way. And they thought that it might be fun to read about.
Sure, yeah, exactly. You're saying maybe 1 out of 10 people might know your name, but has anyone thought you were someone else and came up to you?
Oh, yeah. All my life. When I was younger, people used to think I looked like Brian Ferry.
Oh, yeah.
Then it was David Lynch, and then more recently Gary Oldman. So yeah, we always get that. Oh, you're an actor. Yeah, I saw you in as Churchill. You're great as Churchill. To which I always say thank you. I was proud of that. Someone they came up to me at the Chateau Marmont. I was having lunch with a producer, and they said, "Oh God, this woman came up. She said, I just thought you were absolutely fantastic at Coachella." And so I said, "Well, thanks very much. I've had fun doing Coachella." And then she presented that, and I just scrawled an illegible scribble. She went away happy as a clam.
Oh, that's great. You never know any different.
No, and I was trying. I don't know who it was. I mean, I can't sing or play an instrument or do anything, so it was like a joke. I went home and I looked up who was playing at Coachella, and sure enough, Brian Ferry had played that weekend. So she now has this signed thing that she's probably sold for, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Brian Ferry signed menu or whatever it was I signed, and she's got Jim Piddock.
Well, if she's a true fan, she'll hang on to it.
If she's a true fan, she'll probably sue me, and the person she sold it to will claim the money back.
How did you manage to be part of one of my favorite television shows of all time, Lost? Did you audition? Did the part just fall into your agent's hands?
I can't remember. I'm thinking I'll say, because it was at a period in my career when I generally did have to audition for things, which thankfully less so now. So I'm pretty sure it probably was an audition, but I can't tell you for sure.
Okay. And what about Get Shorty more recently? That was a great show. That didn't last long, but you were good in it.
It was a great show. It lasted 3 seasons, which is
three seasons. Yeah,
3 seasons. That was a straight offer. I guess the writer creator of the show knew who I was and was a fan.
Yeah.
So and obviously I'd worked with Chris O'Dowd a couple of times. So that was definitely a straight offer, and I love doing that show. I think it's a terrific show, first of all, and it was a fun set to be on, and I enjoyed that experience.
Now, this was a surprise to me because I didn't realize you wrote it, as well as having a small role in it. Traces of Red, a movie that I saw with Jim Belushi, of course, Lorraine Bracco. It actually screened in a Sydney cinema back in the day, and I saw it.
Wow.
That must have been a proud moment. It got theatrically released down under, just so you know.
Yeah, no, it was theatrically released everywhere, I think. It was the first film I'd ever had made as a writer. So yeah, I was proud of the moment. The film didn't do particularly well, and it wasn't particularly good, but it was just lovely to have that film made and to see it up there, and to know that you could do that, and those, whatever it was, 200, 300 people were employed for X number of months, and just because you wrote this thing. So that was lovely. But no one's brought up Traces of Red in all the probably 100 interviews I've done for this book. So kudos to you for bringing that up.
Well, no, I enjoy it. It's available to stream. I've seen it a couple of times. Have you got any memories of it? How did Jim get cast?
When I say it's not a very good film, I mean, I'm being a bit overcritical, because I always am about everything I do. I think it's a good, what it is? It's a good whodunit. If you're looking for those sort of Agatha Christie type mystery thrillers, it works on that level.
It's in that era of 90s thrillers.
Absolutely. It's got that sort of steamy Florida thing going on. I think, and I'm going to be brutally honest, as I am in the book about everything, I think, much as I love the actors in it, they were almost all miscast. I mean, they were almost all miscast. And I'm big fans of all those 3 actors, by the way, the main 3 actors.
Yeah.
And you might even say today, they would say I was miscast playing a gay landlord, given that I'm not allowed to play gay now because I'm heterosexual. So even I was miscast. But it does work. I mean, it does work in terms of that. If you like mystery thrillers, yeah, it works.
Can you think off the top of your head who you would have liked to have cast at the time instead of Jim?
Yeah, I mean, Jim's great and does certain things particularly well. I know exactly, because he was supposed to do it and couldn't do it. And I don't. This is why the book people are like, because I just tell you what happened, and I don't. It was supposed to be Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid would have been superb, and he was
Right.
who a sort of person I had in mind. And unfortunately, it clashed with the dates that they could do the film. The Sam Goldwyn company clashed with some dates. He was doing another film, and so he wasn't able to do it. But it was absolutely tailor-made for someone like Dennis Quaid.
Great. Oh, that's good to know.
All due respect to Jim Belushi.
Of course, yes. And you've worked with Woody Allen. Obviously, there's a lot of conjecture about him, and I understand all that.
Yeah.
But I, as a film critic and movie analyst, have been a fan of his movies my entire life.
Yeah.
How was it working with him? Like, obviously, with a big ensemble cast, do you have good memories, or can you tell me what the experience was like?
Yes, I mean, Woody was obviously I was a big fan of his films too, which is why I wanted to do the film. I had a lovely time with Anthony Hopkins, who was just delightful. Just laughed. We laughed for the entire way through.
I can
imagine. He was just great. And Celia Imrie was lovely, who played my wife. I was intrigued by Woody because he's so low key. He sort of floats around the set like a ghost almost, looking very pale, very old and very frail and very pale. He was the same age as Anthony Hopkins at that time, and it still is. They haven't changed their ages. And which was, I think, early 70s. I don't know. At that time, and or late 60s, I can't remember. Anyway, Anthony had such vibrance and energy and looked so robust. And Woody was just this kind of waif who floated around and you could barely hear him. He would whisper stuff. I got away lightly. He could be quite, brutal with his direction with certain, actors, even major stars. For some reason, he liked what I was doing. I think because I tend to underplay things in the latter part of my career, not in the early part. And I think he likes that just people who talk, and don't act. Who sort of be. So I got away lightly. So I liked him. I got into a lot of trouble. Well, not a lot of trouble. People got a bit kind of the over woke brigade, as I call them. I think there's nothing wrong with being woke, because it means just you're aware of things. But being over woke is annoying and counterproductive. The over woke crowd jumped on me for saying, in the book I describe working on the film, and I say, obviously his reputation has been tarnished by the claims within his family, and I have no desire whatsoever to comment on that, because only two people know what happened, and those are the two people that were involved. Although other family members have stated stuff that were there and whatever. So I just sat totally on the fence, guys. I'm not going to get involved. And of course, the overwork brigade said, "Oh, you're condoning it then. So you think he didn't do this?" And I said, "No, I'm not saying anything. I don't know. I don't claim to know, nor do you." So I just got into it. I mean, I couldn't believe that people, but by me just saying I'm not going to get into it. So why do you even say that? Well, maybe they have a point there. Why did I even say that? I don't know. But I do think that people should be given the benefit of the doubt, until proven guilty. And in his case, the facts are that it didn't happen. So the facts are, as per the law, it didn't happen. So that's all I'll say, and that's more than I said in the book.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm glad that you had a great experience on the film, because it's just good to hear. Yeah. You've also worked with one of my favorite, I will admire her work, Carla Gugino, in She Creature. Now, that would have been an interesting television movie to be part of. I actually have a VHS copy of that, by the way, She Creature.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, it's actually quite good, isn't it? It's quite a kind of fun piece.
It was.
I enjoyed that. That was I was right after Best in Show. And Sebastian, who directed it, who's married to Carla Gugino, cast me on the basis of Best in Show, which is staggering because the part is so different. It just shows that. So when you're in the limelight,
You have range. See,
you can do anything you like. Yeah. So it was lovely to actually do something so different right after Best in Show. I mean, it couldn't be more different.
I like Carla. I've had a chance to meet her, talk to her, and she's terrific.
She's wonderful, very talented and lovely, and everybody in that was great. I have to say, it was a really fun. Rufus Sewell was lovely, and you know, I often bump into him around LA and stuff. It was a really good cast, actually, very well cast.
Out of all the Chris Guest movies, I suppose you get asked this quite often, but have you got a favorite character or a favorite film? Personally, I think For Your Consideration is a little bit underrated. I enjoy that one.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's a little too esoteric. I mean, I think it's such a specific subject matter. I think it's I didn't quite buy the reality that the other films create a real surreal world from a world of reality. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
they're kind of, yes, that's turning something slightly a few degrees away from the reality. I thought that For Your Consideration was in a bit of a bubble, but that's my own opinion. And I feel that people couldn't relate to it quite as much. I thought the character I got to play and some of the performances in it were staggeringly good. I mean, I loved playing that character. It was such a dick. I mean, just such a. I knew who that person was.
It's so not you though.
That was based on a few DPs I've worked with, and that look and that just such a dick. I love playing that. I mean, I think the best film. I've never been shy about saying this. I think the best of Chris's films is Best in Show.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I think it's terrific, and I actually do quite like Mascots, which he and I wrote together, which was on Netflix. I mean, it's a very similar structure to Best in Show, but there's something wonderfully silly and sweet about it. I think it's the most emotionally engaging of all his films, Mascots, which Netflix made and still running. But I think in terms of, you know, widest appeal, I would have to say Best in Show, and it's probably the tightest of all of them. I mean, it's hard to find anything wrong with it, and it survived the test of time. You know, 22 years later, that film still works 100%. So I would say Best in Show would be the best of them. And if you have to pick, the worst is ridiculous because they're all so good. I'd say,
of course, I knew you'd say that.
The least effective, I would say, would be For Your Consideration. Although I love that you think it's underrated.
I do. I liked it. Just for your own information, 22 years ago, you say Best in Show. I used to be a projectionist at a little theatre near the ocean where I live, and we used to get packed crowds in there cheering and laughing for weeks and weeks it played. So yeah, you hit a chord. Yeah, it was good.
I mean, it was also for me, just personally, it was the first Chris Guest film I'd done, and to be partnered with Fred, which no one else wanted to do because you can't compete with Fred. I loved it. It taught me how to be a straight man, which I hadn't done before. I'd always played the clown, and and he was just, we became lifelong friends. I mean, I was devastated when he passed away when I was writing the book. Because I'd see him maybe half a dozen times a year and work with him numerous times. And that was my first experience. And I got to work with him, you know, the whole film. He was that's great. One of the most talented comic actors I've ever come across.
Everyone's talented in those casts.
That is true.
Parker Posey in particular, I mean, I could talk about a lot of people, but Parker Posey is she's another underrated sort of actor that can do almost anything, comedy, drama.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's superfluous picking out people, but I just have to, you know, because I had such a great experience with Fred, and he was so extraordinarily anarchically brilliant at improvisation that I single him out.
Do you have a habit or something that you do on a regular basis that nobody knows about? A secret you'd like to share?
I don't. I think I share everything in the book. I don't. I'm pretty brutally honest with myself, which is why I'm okay with being brutally honest with other people. Do I strangle chickens or make small babies cry, stealing their toys? No, I don't. I don't think I do any of those things.
Good to hear. All right then.
No, I mean my hobbies are right out there. I'm a big soccer fanatic. I like sports. Is there anything I didn't that people don't know? I don't think so.
No hidden talents.
No, God, no. I make the most of what little I've got. So,
speaking of soccer, Barcelona were in Sydney playing here last night for an exhibition match against the Australian team.
Yeah. No, my team, Crystal Palace, are coming to Australia in July.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, Melbourne and Perth, I think. And I would have come, but I'm coming later in the year, and I prefer to be there in the summer.
So why should someone buy your book? Why, if someone's deciding on a book to read, in your own words, why should people decide, okay, I'm going to get Jim's book?
I'll tell you why. In a couple of reasons. Firstly, people outside show business are loving it, which means I've hit a target I wanted to. I wanted this book to appeal to everybody, and I've got feedback from ministers in the Midwest, army veterans, people who have nothing to do with show business, who said they just loved it and related to it, and it was a very human book. I think it celebrates an unusual life that I've had, and then celebrates being alive. And I think it's mostly entertains. It's a book with a lot of laughs in it, and it's far funnier than I am in person, much funnier. And it's got some genuine moving bits, I think, in it. People have,
definitely. Did you choose the cover? Was that your choice?
I did, yeah. It was my idea and my choice. I chose that, and so I would say, but the big reason, beyond the fact that I think it's a great beach read or travel read, or people whip through the book. You can read it in 2 afternoons, and it's not a short, but it's a 300-page book, but it's a very easy read. You will feel better afterwards. People said it's a great relief from all the trouble in the world right now, and that means the world to me. But most of all the money from the book, all my proceeds are going to 3 different charities. So 2 of them are for helping underprivileged kids in the US, and 1 in England, through various programs which get them off the streets and give them a chance in life that they wouldn't otherwise have. And then the other charity is one for Ukrainian refugees. So I don't make a cent out of the book. So there's a good reason to buy it, because you don't need to give me any more money. So you've already done that by paying for the films I've been in. So don't pay these people that deserve it more than me.
Oh, that's really good incentive to people to buy the book, and lovely of yourself as well. I mean, you obviously wanted to do that. No one asked you to, so that's great for you, mate.
I didn't write it for, I made my living acting and writing screenplays and TV shows. People don't make a lot of money writing books anyway, so it's not the biggest sacrifice I've ever made. Although, if the sales continue the way they have, I might be kicking myself in a year's time.
Well, that's true. Book sales have been on the decline, but there are still bestsellers out there. And who else can say they've been in a movie with David Bowie, the late great David Bowie? So
absolutely.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, and with Harvey Weinstein, which is less of a claim to fame.
Of course. All right. So last 2 questions before we wrap it up. Is there anyone that you haven't worked with or met that you would actually like to collaborate with? Any actor, director? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot, but anyone?
Yeah, there's a lot of directors I've not worked with who I would like to. And I've also been able to work with some of the greats. Someone else asked me that, and there are actors I really, really admire. And so there would be people like that. I mean, I just saw Mark Rylance in Jerusalem on stage in London, and it is the greatest stage performance I've ever seen.
He's a good actor.
And I would love to work with him because he's just on another level to me. I think Tom Courtenay would be fun to work with. I think Matt Damon would be someone I'd like to work with. I've worked with so many people though. That's the problem. When someone asked me that question before, I really had to search because I sort of went, oh, well, Michael Caine. I've worked with Michael Caine. You know, it's like all the people I immediately thought of, I'd worked with. So it was like.
What about a leading lady like Dame Helen Mirren or?
Yeah, I mean, there was a story about her in the book because I know her socially. I haven't worked with her, but I've met her many, many, many times and had. She came over to dinner at our house one time. So that I would like that. I'd actually be fun to work with a guy I was very friendly with in New York. I knew very well, John Malkovich. I've never actually been in stuff with John, and we have a very similar sense of humor. And I would love to work with him. Mostly, yeah, people. I think it would be people whose sense of humor I share. You know. But again, I've been lucky enough to work with almost all those people already.
As well as my day job, I host a secondary show about Mickey Rourke and all the movies and his career. Have you ever had a chance to meet Mickey Rourke? I know you haven't worked with him.
I've not. No, I've been in the same room as him, and I've been in the same restaurant as him, but I've never actually worked with him. I don't think I've ever spoken to him.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much for your time, mate. If there's anything you'd like to finish off by saying to my Australian audience, is there anything you'd like to mention other that you might be visiting towards the end of the year, 2022?
I love Australia and I love Australians. I mean, I love the whole vibe. Some of the greatest, funniest people for me. I mean, I think Barry Humphries is not a national treasure. I think he's a global treasure. There's someone I'd love to work with, but I better get on because he's 80 something. Jackie Weaver is one of my great friends.
She's a national treasure.
I adore Jackie, and she and I played husband and wife in a 5-year engagement, and we've remained great friends. So all my experiences, bizarrely, with Australians, Anthony LaPaglia, have all been positive. I don't have any bad stories about Australia. That's why Scottish people and Australians I've generally had a massive rapport with in real life. So I love you, Australia, and please buy my book. And if you don't know who I am, you will by the time you finished it. You'll know more than you ever wanted to.
I'll make sure everyone knows who Brian Ferry is. I mean, Jim Piddock.
Brian Ferry's memoir. Buy it. It's just under the name Jim Piddock. For some reason, he chose that name. I don't know why.
Thanks, babe.